First today, altitude sickness is something that can affect anyone spending time high above sea level. It doesn't matter how fit, healthy, young or old a person is, and if it gets really bad, it can even be fatal. But it's a bit of a mystery condition. It doesn't affect everyone, and some people respond to treatments much better than others. Now, doctors are studying trekkers at Everest Base Camp to try to find a treatment for the worst affected patients whose organs begin to fail. The Himalayan mountain range is home to some of the planet's highest peaks, including the highest, Mount Everest, which stands at an amazing 8,848 metres above sea level. It's a dangerous place, but many trekkers say it's the best region in the world to explore and climb. 8,000 k's from Australia, the Himalayas cross 5 countries: Bhutan, India, Nepal, China and Pakistan. The Himalayas include more than 100 mountains which are over 7,200 metres high. And altitude sickness often occurs above 2,400 metres, so it's not uncommon in these parts of the world. It doesn't matter how young or fit a person is, it affects everyone differently, regardless of their health. When I trekked through the Himalayas to Everest Base Camp and Mount Kalapatar, my best friend Penny and I were the only two in our group not to get sick. Even the super fit footy players struggled. Altitude sickness is caused by a lack of oxygen, because the higher above sea level you get, the lower the air density is, meaning there are less oxygen and nitrogen molecules to breathe in. The symptoms include headaches, fatigue, tummy aches, dizziness and problems sleeping. Usually it can be helped by going down to a lower altitude, but if it gets really bad, trekkers have to go to hospital, and often by the time they get there, they're extremely sick. What puzzles doctors is why some people recover and others get organ failure and sometimes die. That's why a group of scientists and doctors from England set up this lab at Everest Base Camp. 5,364 metres above sea level, there's up to 50% less oxygen to breathe. The air is much thinner and a lot of people get altitude sickness. So they're doing heaps of tests on the visiting trekkers and local Nepalese Sherpa villagers. Some believe the key to survival may be held by the local Sherpas, who spend a lot of time working in the mountains.
When you look at Sherpas, they're not necessarily athletically brilliant, but they are really good at using oxygen within the cells to produce energy and enable them to climb to high altitudes.
The researchers think it could be a cellular thing, and a molecule called nitric oxide could be a factor.
And it's a molecule which controls the microcirculation, so blood flowing in the very tiniest of the blood vessels within all of your organs and tissues.
The team thinks it could change the way critically ill patients with altitude sickness are treated, because doctors could use drugs to change the levels of nitric oxide in their blood, which could help them get better.
Many patients who have infection do become sick and their organs fail, and once their organs start to fail, we can hone in on that group of patients as people who may well have this cellular problem.
The effect would be similar to putting the patients in altitude training, which is something a lot of elite athletes do to improve their endurance. They could go running or cycling in the mountains, or they could train in an altitude chamber like this, where there are machines which reduce the amount of oxygen in the air, make it harder to train and easier to get fit.
So we'd be preparing you as if you were doing altitude training as an athlete, but instead of having to go to 5,000 metres, we would be able to give you a drug to do that.
Doctors say these are important discoveries that could lead to life-saving treatments. But in the meantime, keen trekkers will keep attempting the world's toughest peaks.